So if you coach long enough, you will be faced with the situation that I'm going to talk about in today's video. I had a couple of different people tell me about two totally separate situations, two totally separate sports that both dealt with what I want to talk about today. And that is, how do you handle a situation where a player misses practice for whatever it might, an extended period of time. And that could be 3 days, it could be, 2 weeks, whatever it might be. It could be for various reasons: injury, sickness, family vacation, college visit. There's a variety of things that can happen here where a player may miss practice time over the course of a week, might miss the whole week. And then you have a game on the weekend. Do you play that player? Does that player get to play for you if they've missed, especially if they've missed the practice the day before? And if they've missed, multiple days before that, do you play that player or do you sit that player? Do you start that player, depending upon the sport that you're in, if you have starting lineups, things like that? Would you start that player? Or would that player have to come off of the bench because, he or she has missed quite a bit? There's all kinds of differing things in these situations that you have to take into account. It's one of the reasons why I always struggled as an athletic director when coaches would say they wanted to have, or people would say when something like this would happen, see, this is why you need to have a hard and fast rule about it. It's like, no, you want rules, you want your standards, you want your guidelines, absolutely. But if you try to have a rule for every situation out there, your rule book's going to be, you can't even see how big, and it's still not going to cover them, because they'll all of a sudden be something that, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that unique thing. So there's going to be uniqueness to so many different situations that you're going to face as a coach or as an athletic director, as I mentioned. But in this one, you've got you've got players who are missing practice, and then you've got a game on the weekend, and the question becomes, do you let them play? If you do, would you start them? How long would they play? How much of a game would they play if you would? Would you say, nope, they're not playing? Right? What if it was an injury and they're able to come back from that injury now? Would you play them? Would you how would you go about figuring this out? Would you elicit input from team captains? Would you talk to that player? Would you talk with your assistant coaches? Talk with your athletic director? How would you handle this? Okay. However you would do it, here's what I want to make sure you understand and that you do. Make sure you have a plan for how you would deal with it. I'm not saying you're going to have every scenario out there covered. I'm saying you want to have in your mind and on paper somewhere a plan for when these types of things come up. Plan it out. Figure out, how would I handle this? I think the first thing you want to do as a coach is you want to make sure you include the opinions and the ideas of your athletic director. Your athletic director needs to be involved in this type of a situation. He or she may not be the one who makes the decision for you, but he or she is going to be involved in the ramifications of it in some way. Because if you play that player, if you start that player, other players and their parents are probably going to be upset. Again, a lot of it depends upon the circumstance. There may be other circumstances that, would make people go, I see it. Okay. What if it's a really good player versus a not as good player? I mean, do you treat them differently? So have a plan. All right. And so include your administrator, your athletic director in that. I would also say part of that is talk to if you have assistant coaches, make sure you work your assistant coaches into this. If they're the ones dealing with it in your program, with this situation in your program, you have to be the one who is heavily involved in this and probably making a final decision. Yeah, that's just depends upon the logistics of your relationship within your coaching staff. Talk with the player. If it's a situation that is not an injury or a sickness. It's something like a family trip. I used to have kids, who would say, we had this thing, the parents would come to me very respectfully and say, we've had this thing planned for however long, it's the only time. Okay, so then we work on it, okay? So if you know ahead of time about it, you need to sit down with that player and possibly his or her parents and discuss the ramifications of it, why this is going to hurt the team, or why it may come back. This is a better situation that this kid gets to go do this, whatever it is, because it's her life. College visits are that way, especially if you are coaching a player who is a really good athlete in another sport and has an opportunity to play at the next level. That's going to probably take precedence if they have a college visit for that sport over yours. Okay, so what are you going to do when they come back? Are they going to get to play? Well, God, that's a tough one. Personally, I don't know that I would start that player, but I would probably play that player because this is their life. This is their the plan for their future that they're trying to work on. So I get that, but again, I would have talked with them prior to, and we would have worked that out. In the situations where we don't have it worked out yet, or there's other extenuating circumstances and boom, it gets thrown at you. You still want to have in mind how you would handle the variety of scenarios out there that could get thrown at you in this situation. Understand that however you proceed, whichever way you go with it, you're going to have people who are not happy. You're going to have someone who is, or some people who are, and some who aren't. That's coaching. That's leadership. You're always going to have that. So the key to your plan ultimately becomes, when you put your head on the pillow at night, can you live with what you have decided? Can you look in the mirror and say, I am a person of character because I followed my standards? The values by which I have run this team say, we will do X. And that's what I have done here. Again, it might not be that you have a specific thing in mind going into it, but have you handled it in such a way that it is in line with the values and the standards of your program and of who you are? If you can do that, right, you will rest. I'm not going to say easy because it's still going to be hard and you're going to face those detractors. But you will at least have operated from a proactive standpoint of, okay, here's how we will look to handle this situation. Here's how we will try to do the best we can to research this and make it the best for all, okay? While at the same time living up to the standards that we have set for our programs. If you do that, right, you can put your head on the pillow at night knowing I'm living up to what I say I'm all about. And ultimately, that's going to be probably the most important thing for you in this thing called coaching ultimately. All right? Tough one, tough situation. I purposefully avoided some of the specifics in that because it's not easy. And there are no right and wrong, cut and dried, it always has to go this way. But it might be for you, right? So what I would love to hear is down below, leave a comment and let me know. Let us know, because other coaches are going to listen to this and be reading comments. If you'll make a comment, how would you handle this? And what would be your justification for it? I would love to hear that because it helps all of us to think, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Or, yep, that helps reinforce what I was thinking. So would love to hear your thoughts down below. Please leave those and we'll talk to you again next time.